What's up, everybody? You are listening to the Think Big podcast. I'm your host, Ayelet Polonsky, also known as your manifestation mentor. This podcast is designed to help you create a manifestation mindset by learning how to think big. You'll learn how to use your thoughts to co-create your reality. Let's get into today's episode.
Welcome, everyone. Awesome. I'm really excited to have you here on with me. I'm done listening to myself talk. I'm sick of listening to myself talk.
I'm never.
That's not true. All right. You guys keep rolling in. Awesome. All right. By the way, as we are just in flow, feel free to just ask questions in the chat as we go, and hopefully we'll have time to get to all of your questions tonight. And before we start, can we just set an intention?
Yeah.
Okay. My intention for this evening is for us to get out of our way and allow Source, God, Hashem, to talk through us in order to allow each person that's listening to get the gems out of this evening's conversation that they're looking for and to get answers. We're here to get real. We're here to get raw. We're here to get vulnerable. And, Daniela Faye.
Oh, what's up? Hey, Danielle.
Oh, yay. Woo, she said, I'm here for this. All right, awesome. Cool. It's fun to have our friends here too, even though they're already married with kids. Okay. Married longer than we've been married even. All right. So the way this is going to work, is we received a ton of questions from you guys. Thank you. So we're going to go through each one by one and try to infuse our answers with our own personal journey, our dating experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It got pretty ugly at one point. But thank God, here we are today talking about it. Someone asked, what is it about? This is about dating. This is all about our dating experience and any tips, any advice that we can give to you guys. So let's dive right in. So the first question, go into the questions. Is there anything you wanted to add? Okay, so we'll dive right into the questions. Question number 1. How did we keep the relationship alive? Okay, so Beryl wants me to mention that we didn't actually have that much time to prepare for this. We intended on getting together right before, and then our 2-year-old decided that being awake is more fun than being asleep. So you get it.
It's off the cuff.
It's off so you really are getting the raw, the real, the vulnerable. Like I was not lying about that. Okay. Question number 1. How did we keep the relationship alive? So I'll just share that full disclosure. We keep the spiritual laws of Shomer Negia, which means in our dating experience, we actually didn't touch. We didn't touch. And was it hard? Heck yeah, it was hard. However, it also allowed for the sexual tension to build, to grow, to deepen. I remember there'd be nights where you would, after a date, drop me off at my home and we'd be like standing there, right? This is getting raw, right? We would like stand there, like gazing into each other's eyes. And you could feel the tension building. You could feel like, and to the point where we'd have to like emotionally rip, we'd have to rip ourselves away from one another before it got to that point. So I really do believe that the divine created these laws of Shomer Negia, like not getting intimate before marriage for a reason, right? He created us. Therefore, he understands what is needed in order to create the most successful outcome in relationship. Mm-hmm. Also, we had a very short dating period.
Yes.
We dated for 2 months.
2.5 months.
2.5 months. And then we just knew. And then which we'll get to after. But I think a short dating period was very helpful for us because it didn't allow the monkey mind to come in for too long. The monkey mind's going to come in. The doubts are going to come in. That's what the engagement period is for. That's what dating's for. Is like you ask all the questions, the doubts start coming up. But the more you prolong the experience, the more the monkey starts getting cuckoo bananas.
Timing's important in everything. And even a too short of engagement or too short of dating process could hurt. But we typically don't see that. It's usually typically a too long of a dating process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I do, I think there is the right amount of time that's right for each person. For us, it was right. We knew ourselves by the time we met each other, we knew what we wanted. We were clear. We had our values written out. We had our non-negotiables written out. So there was little left for all that funky stuff.
Yeah. Well, we were. I don't know what. Amen. Also, we were around 30 years old, and it does matter. It can matter what age you are, as well as your maturity level, the amount of personal growth you've done, the kind of mentors you have, the clarity that you have of yourself and of a partner that you're looking in. That will probably be a big factor of how long you probably need to date for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember at one point it did get the energy in our dating got too serious. So a friend of ours who was married with kids said, go have fun, go to Tel Aviv, take her to the boardwalk and just have fun. Don't make it about asking so many questions and getting boggled down, getting too caught up in the details. Just have fun.
Yeah. The big three. Shomer dating.
Don't get intimate. Just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Short dating time.
Short dating time / appropriate dating time for, short is relative, but appropriate dating time, probably shorter than what most people think. And, have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Next question. How did we know that the other was the right one? We didn't. We didn't. Oh, man. But what did we know? We know that we supported each other in our goals, in our vision, in our dreams, and many of those things were aligned. But even if they're not aligned, we don't have to come into marriage, agreeing on every single thing, but we have to respect the other person's where they're holding and what their values are, what their ideals and goals are. And then I can speak for myself that for me, and I think for everybody watching, it is crucial to choose someone and you yourself be someone who is growth oriented. Are you willing to grow? Right? There's going to be stumbling blocks in every marriage. It was designed that way. It's meant to be like that. Right. But as long as you're both dedicated to personal development and becoming the best versions of yourselves for each other, then you have what to work with.
Yeah. And I think the fact that we didn't know is totally okay. Anybody who's Balshuva knows that it's not just like a logical calculation. It's black and white. And, I'm a religious person. There is and many of the Rebbes speak about that there's a little piece of faith that everyone needs. It's almost a bit of a surrender or a bit of I don't know. I am jumping in. Even if it makes sense in your head, your heart still needs a bit of that. And so that is the same in dating for marriage as well, that you're never going to 100% know. You're not.
Right. No, you're not. You're not. And so leave room for the unknown. That's where God comes in. God comes through the cracks of faith, through the cracks of the unknown. And I always said when I was engaged, I was like, I'm jumping off the cliff and I'm trusting that God is going to grow me wings and we're going to fly and we're going to soar. But a lot of it, you can't know everything up front. You can't. It's not possible.
Yeah, I'd say for myself, definitely someone who was growth oriented. That was very important. And it also made sense on paper. And there was attraction. I think those three are very important. At least I'm speaking for men in the sense that if it makes sense on paper, that's wonderful. But if it makes sense on paper, but of course there's going to be issues. There's going to be things that each party is going to need to work on themselves to show up better for the other party and how to support the other party. And so you need to marry someone who is willing to put down their sword and is willing to, is a humble person or dedicated to making their life's journey of being humble. If both people have their swords up, the relationship or marriage will be a disaster. If one has their swords up, a marriage will be incredibly difficult and will eventually fail. And so both parties need to be able to put down their swords. And lastly, when I meant attraction, I was attracted to my wife is are we going to get into speaking about this? I think we are.
Go ahead.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
We'll come back to it. But the attraction in the sense that, and this could go for, I know women as well, as we've spoken about this, is that there just has to be an attraction. There doesn't have to be fire and crazy, the crazy passion and everything that you may have experienced in previous dating or non-religious dating.
In fact, that's not even realistic, because when there's diaper changes and sleepless nights and needing to think about creating finances, it doesn't mean that there aren't moments of fire and passion. And it's important to create that. But people have this fear that the ecstatic, blissful connection, next level of passion, if it's not there all the time and if it slips in dating, that must mean he's not or she's not the one for me. And that's a huge misconception.
We heard a mentor of ours who's married happily with kids once say, I don't love my wife as much, or I don't love my wife with the same kind of passion, excitement as much as my 17-year-old girlfriend. And although that seems sad, everyone knows what it's like to be a teenager. It's just crazy emotions all the time. You can't do anything, think about anything. Or
but that's called lust. That's not even called love. It's called lust. If we think back to our teenage crushes, it's like we liked them because they liked somebody else, right? I'm speaking for myself, but we like them because they like somebody else. So it creates these lustful, lower level, illusionary attachment to these people. That's not called love. Okay, so we'll get to what love is later. But
did you communicate?
Did we cover that question, you think? Okay. Did you communicate your concerns with one another during the dating engagement period? All right, this is where it gets real. Should I go into our first date story a little bit? No? Okay, no. I'll do that separately by myself on another live. But do we communicate our concerns with one another? So I would say yes and no. There is a importance to being vulnerable and open and honest when dating. That is important. However, certain concerns that are really big should be given to a third party who is a mentor figure for both people involved. I see you thinking. Is there something you want to add?
Just keep going.
Yeah. We got to a point in our dating where we almost called it off, right? We called off even before we got engaged, we almost called off the relationship.
During the dating process.
And because both of us, and we didn't know this about the other because we were scared. We were scared to bring it up. We were scared to go to that vulnerable place and say, hey, I'm just not feeling the connection, right? On paper, everything makes sense. Logically, everything makes sense. And there's so much good to work with in our relationship. Why is the fire not there? So then what happened?
So then at least I shared I was very vulnerable and shared, was what I said was, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? We're so good on paper. And we really like each other and we have fun. And when I put out that place of vulnerability, she responded with it. And there was a certain softness and a wall just came down. And because we already knew on paper, because we had been dating, we had dated well and seriously and talked with each other, got to really know each other.
Retreat.
And because it already made sense on paper, essentially, once the walls were down, the emotions, love were able to really flow in, and they flew in easily and effortlessly. And it was a healthy way to bring in the heart space because the head already knew, oh, this makes sense. And so it's safe. And so then once that was down, that really went with it. But that can be difficult to even get to that place because during dating, it's such a sensitive process and you're of different sex and there's a million stories going on in your head regarding the dating story. Without having a third party who is objective, not emotionally involved, and understands this process, they don't even have to be best friends with you too or know you so well, but is someone who's able to at least transmit the information in a way where the other person can hear it at the right time and in the right way. I'm a recruiter for a living. My job is to be the middle person between someone looking for a job and the organization hiring. And a lot of times things come up, which you probably have known in interviewing, that may be an issue. If you just shared it on a first interview, here's all the things you're sharing I don't like, or they shared, here's our concerns regarding you, it would probably never work out. But because I'm in between and I hear feedback from both sides and I decide when, how, and who and that I share that information with, I can keep things moving along to make sure that it's set up for success, when a lot of times it's just miscommunication things throughout the process. And a lot of times, we'll get to this later.
Right, which is why communication is important, but also, bringing God into the picture was critical for us, because we were at that turning point where, I remember it was a Friday. I was about to lead a women's retreat. And I remember going into the retreat Friday morning, not thinking to myself, like setting the intention. I prayed. I said, Hashem, God, if it's a yes, let it be a yes. Because I was confused. I was like, everything makes sense, but emotionally something's missing. And I said, God, if it's a yes, give me that clarity by the end of this retreat. Like, let this retreat reveal something to me to give me that clarity that I'm looking for. And if it's a no, then I'll go my merry way with peace and it'll be okay. I'm not going to hang on to it emotionally, but,
maybe I can give in a small just example as well of something in terms of communication, is that, for example, actually, when we were dating, I always saw her as this strong powerhouse woman. She had led retreats. She'd done Tony Robbins. She traveled all over the world. She was therapist, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't see her as a mother figure and as that soft kind of mother-like figure. And I didn't share this, I remember, with the rabbi, with the rabbi who we were kind of speaking with. But I just remember I could have ended up not seeing that and being like, I don't see that soft mother figure. And I come from a family where my mother is incredibly soft, didn't go to work till we were 8 years old, is so sweet, has such a big heart, is the softest woman, ever. And I could have just said, well, I don't see it, so it's over. And so that'd be something where if you shared that with a mentor, they might say, hey, make sure you go to a Shabbat meal where there's kids and see how she interacts with them. I remember seeing you at the Ben Davids, actually, when they had their baby, and seeing how sweet you were with her. And I remember kind of like whatever I had was like instantly gone. I was like, wow, she's so sweet with this. So that's just giving an example of something where you might not see it. So you would end something because you don't see that it's there and it's something of real importance to you, maybe a deal breaker, where if you shared it with a mentor, they might say, well, let's just set up a scenario where you can see that. And that's a good litmus test for now, revealing an aspect about their character that is of the utmost importance to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to sum up what I was saying about, Friday asking for clarity.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You also weren't clear. And we only found that out later on. You weren't clear about whether I was right for you. We both weren't feeling it. We hadn't shared with each other. And so you had gone to your rabbi mentor and you shared your concerns with him. And his response was, so break it off. Break it off. And you were ready. You said after Shabbat on Sunday, we had a date planned. I'm going to break it off. Right. And so we got together that Sunday, both of us kind of coming ready to break off the relationship. And, you put together this bonfire. Anyways, so we're sitting at the bonfire and we gave ourselves permission to communicate, to get vulnerable, to, in a very safe way, share our concerns. And then I don't remember how it got started, but we both started just freestyling, like rapping. Like you started rapping, I started rapping Lil Wayne or something. Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, wow, he's got this side to him that I didn't see before, right? So we allowed some of the walls to come down. Sometimes the lack of connection is just a lack of vulnerability. And when you allow yourself to go to those places, vulnerability is different than authenticity, right? I don't mean everything that you would see on a bathroom stall door is what you should be sharing with your partner. However, vulnerability is important because that's where you see a person's true essence. That's where they get real. Okay, next question. Do you believe in love at first sight?
No.
Look, love, you said this, love is active. It's not passive, right? Love takes work. And when I speak to my students or my clients, like the First thing I tell them when they're ready to get engaged is rule number one of marriage, work. Hard work. If you are looking for someone who is going to be a walk in the park partner, I mean, it's hard for me to say this, but then I'd say like, don't get married. You know, like if you're not ready to put in the work, rule number one, it's hard work, and love gets built over time as the two of you experience those challenges together, and you get through them together, you grow through them together, you communicate. The more you learn how to communicate, the deeper the love can get. Anything else, love at first sight is just lust at first sight. It's not actually love at first sight.
Love is the emotional feeling we have when we focus on the virtues of another person. This is why every parent loves their child, because they see all those virtues. And so love has to be active and not passive, because you choose to focus on virtues. You can choose to focus on someone's flaws or their vices or negative aspects about them, or you can choose to focus on the virtues. And that's why at first sight, sure, you could see someone save someone from a burning building. That's the first time you see them. So, virtue of bravery, so you like that, but you'd have to actually spend time with them to get to see more of those virtues. And that is an act. You are an active participant, and love is a choice.
Mm-hmm. Look, does it mean that couples who just had fire from the beginning can't end up together? And if they call it love at first sight, sure, it can happen, but I still would say it's lust at first sight. I don't think there's such thing as real love at first sight. Love is built over time. You grow into it. Everything besides that is lust. You like the person, how they look. You like how powerful they are in business. Anything, that's all just lust. All right. Next question. How soon were you two physical when dating? We just weren't, which, again, back to just that spiritual blueprint that we follow, which is the Torah. Like I said earlier, God created us. He knows what it takes to create real connection. And so when two people aren't touching and not, first off, it leaves more to the imagination. And the way, maybe you could talk about how men think. How do men think when a woman's not just giving their body over to a man, right?
Sure. Well, also not a spoiler alert, but we this was new for us, where we were newly religious. We had dated and had relationships before where we were physically active with the other person. And so we also both know the power that brings, and power meaning emotionally how much weight that it holds when there is physicality in a relationship prior to marriage and even obviously prior to making the decision to be married. And especially, I mean, can speak for a man in that there is a certain what's the phrase? Why buy the cow when you can have the farm or something? It's a
when you can get the milk for free.
Whatever it may be, that there's men are programmed a certain way, and that is that is also why this is a very important part of the dating process, and it just doesn't cloud your mind, and you could stay focused on what's important and of the virtues, and first make sure that it makes sense on paper, and then you could bring the weight of your emotions and your heart, behind it, and the vulnerability behind it.
Right. Yeah. And also, if I can speak on behalf of men, right? I mean, you guys are physical beings. And so if you're not getting that need met right away, I imagine it causes you to commit to that person more quickly, meaning you're less likely to drag out a relationship when the physical touch isn't there, because you have that need and it's not being met, and it creates a bigger desire in a man towards the woman. No? Potentially. Yeah. Okay. Someone's asking, did you talk about your physical connection throughout, or was it off limits? Yeah, I think we spoke about it, right? I mean, we definitely spoke about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were times where we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? This is hard.
Yeah, I don't know how much we talked about. We didn't talk about things, which is important. We didn't talk about things from the past, though, which comes up which we hear from a lot of people in dating. They'll want to know.
Get specific when you mean like the past, like past relationships.
Past relationships. If if someone was physical in past relationships. We have found it is not healthy for the other party to know anything.
Yeah, and people come to me, they're like, but I need honesty in my relationship. There's nothing honest about share. I've actually seen divorce happen in people because they share too much from their past, and the other partner just can't get that visual or can't get those ideas out of their head. So, we've chose later in our marriage, I'd say like a few years in, we created a safe space where we were able to trickle into our conversations pieces of our past. But even so, like a majority of it just stays outside. Once you get married also, there's this, the ultimate spiritual surgery takes place where your two souls now merge and become one. So, our sages teach that in that moment, you are going through the most transformational upgrade. You are no longer the old you the moment that sanctimonious ceremony, does that make sense? Sanctimonious ceremony? But when that takes place.
Also, in the Western secular world, the concept of marriage is, at least for men I could speak of, is your wife is your sexual jailer. Up one woman for the rest of your life. In the religious world, it is your wife is your sexual liberator, in that she is the one who is facilitating that opportunity. And that is...
You're welcome.
Thank you. And that is a completely different attitude and mind shift. What
does that mean? Your wife is your sexual liberator?
Well, as I said, in the Western secular world, it is that now this is all you have. It's as if you're fettered and tied down to this. But liberator, meaning freer, in the religious world is now this person is the one you have the opportunity to do this with because you haven't before, or you're not before, or you're trying not to before. And now you have the space to do that. And also through Kiddush and holiness, but that's a whole separate maybe share.
Amazing. Okay. All right. Next question. How do you deal with uncertainty if the other person can't decide if he wants you or not? So I'm assuming the person who asked this is probably dating someone, and the person they're dating or has dated someone, and that person couldn't decide if they want you or not. Okay. So rule number one in dating is date for marriage. It's as easy as that. If you are someone who intends to be married, then there is no point in just dragging a relationship without having that critical conversation. Are you dating for marriage? And a lot of women I know get scared of asking that question. Right? It's like, but if I ask that, maybe he'll run. Well, if he runs, there's your answer. You have clarity. You just rejection is your is protection,
and save a lot of time and emotional and wasted emotional energy. I give the sales, like in sales, it's called pre-qualifying your customer. Why would you pursue a client who can't afford your services? There's no way. They're in bankruptcy. You're going to waste time and probably emotion investing in them. This saves you a lot of the hurt later.
Yeah. I mean, we had our house cleaner, sweet girl, like so like marriage ready. And, she shared with me that she's been dating her boyfriend for over 4 years. And just now they had this conversation that he comes from a family that doesn't value marriage. So he just wanted to have a relationship with her forever, right? That's what he said. And eventually have kids. But she believes in marriage, and that's what she wants. And so it took over 4 years for them to have that clarity. And only now they're starting to go to all these marriage counselors, therapists, like working on their cognitions around relationship. So I always say no up front. If you're afraid to ask directly, have a third party involved, have them do the questioning.
Have them do the, if someone's a kid, a lot of times even more honest with a third party.
And again, like I said, if you ask those direct questions in a gentle way and he doesn't know how to answer it or he runs, then take that as clarity and take that as a gift. That's your protection.
Also, how soon does someone want to be married? Somebody may only want to be married within 3 years time, and the other person says, I can wait 10 years. That can be a huge issue up front, as well as Avraham Willigaresha Torah and I did a workshop on dating for marriage, and we came up with a love litmus test. And one of them was, does the dating process have an expiration date? Because you hear a lot of times someone says, oh, we're dating until they leave for the military, or we're dating until this. Like, it has an expiration date. That is not dating for marriage.
Yeah. And also, I recently spoke to someone who's dating and just a beautiful, beautiful couple. And she said that he needs time to think about things. He needs time to process, right? What does that even mean, time to process? Am I opposed if both people think that they really need to take time apart to think things over? Sure, do that. But most times processing just means wasting time. It doesn't actually mean that they're processing. If you're going to process. Mm-hmm. Speak to someone you trust who's in a marriage, who's in a happy marriage. Speak to them to get your clarity, but also that processing time, give it a deadline, because really, I think you said it. What else do you need in order to make a decision? That's the question you should be asking each other. What else do I need to know about you, to understand in order to make a decision? That should be the question that carries the processing.
Yeah. If your mentor should ask you that, looking you in the eyes, to your face, if possible. And if not, you asking yourself that in the mirror, what else do I need in order to make a decision? If you have seen what you've needed to see in order to make a decision, then now it's about making a decision. And that does not take 3 months. You do not go to a mountain to meditate for 2 months and find yourself and get that kind of clarity or clear your mind so you could find it.
Really, you find yourself in marriage.
You find yourself in marriage.
We're each other's mirrors.
It might take someone a day, 3 days, a week at most to escape a little bit, meditate, sit down. But if you that's the big question that you need to ask yourself. If the answer is, I don't have everything I need, and then the next question is, well, what don't you have? And it could be, I have not yet seen this person with my family, and that is a top priority. Okay, well, now you need to set up in a way where you need them to meet your family, or you need to, assess if that really is a value of yours that is a non-negotiable or not.
Right. And also a question I get a lot is, do we have to be holding in the same place spiritually in terms of, let's say you're observant, right? Do we have to be holding in the same place? Look, I think if there's certain fundamentals that are there that you share, like a respect for whatever spiritual path you're on, and you support each other, but there has to be respect. It can't be that one party feels judged by another because one is holier than thou and the other one's not holding at a certain level, right? Have I seen happy married couples who are holding in different places religiously? Yes. Does it work? Yes. Can it be beautiful? Yes. Are they both dedicated to growth? Absolutely. That is the link that binds those people.
Question.
Okay. So question, what happened? Question is, so what happened after the retreat that you knew? And have you ever thought before this that maybe you had found the one? What was different in this clarity? That's a great question. What was different? It was a deep sense of knowing, but not from a place of, oh my gosh, now all of a sudden the connection is next level. The passion is next level. No, it was like a deep sense of knowing that we want to do this work together, right? What did I say? Rule number 1, relationship, marriage is work. And there was this understanding that we could do this together. We could do the work together. That's how would you explain it? Like, what happened after the retreat?
Well, we shared it, but at least for me, and I think this could be healthy for women as well, but I knew it made sense on paper. There wasn't anything there that was a clear deal breaker or even such a big issue. So then it just became, for me, the emotional fire, passion wasn't there, or at least a piece of it wasn't there. And it was when I was vulnerable with her at that bonfire night, and it came down that the floodgates were open and it just flooded through. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was really first it was a cheshbon, it was an accounting, it was does this first make sense based on knowing myself and what are my needs, as well as what I was looking for in a partner.
Yeah. And also I think for me, I remember also just thinking to myself that, we'll get there. I was thinking to myself that night, the bonfire night, which was right after the retreat, I said, you know what? It might not be the perfect vision I had in my mind, of who I would marry, like perfect. But what does that even mean? Perfect vision, right? So I said,
that's not healthy.
To have a perfect vision is not healthy. Like, drop the expectations, drop the Hanukkah list. It's like, and I remember thinking to myself that night, I said, wait a minute, I actually don't want to lose him. I don't want to lose him. I know we could create something huge. And is it going to take work? Are we going to have to work to build that passion, build that fire? Yes. Okay. But that's part of our spiritual work in the context of our marriage. And I think every marriage really is how to maintain that passion. Because it's not a 24/7 thing. And can I just say one more thing? Of course. You also asked, she also asked, she said, have you ever thought before this that maybe you had found the one? So I was actually engaged. Okay. So like I said, I was engaged before we met, and I called it off because there was this like nagging voice that I couldn't get rid of. I had spoken to mentors. I had gone to therapists. I had spoke to rabbis and rebbitzins, and no matter how much real processing I did, I could not knock that voice in my head that was just like, he's not the one. Mm-hmm. He's not the one. Right. But it required talking it out, having real conversations with people. And there was a real block there for us. Right. It's like to the point where I couldn't even see myself long term with him. And that for me was my sign.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I could share something too. I've never shared this with you. For me, I had never, I thought I'd found the one numerous times, I guess you could say. And I even almost like proposed one time before. It was done very hastily, or I didn't do it, but the process or the thought or the getting the things together for it was done hastily. And I think that probably is a sign that it's usually not right if you're just doing it quickly or off the cusp, or you're just deciding to do it, or feel pressured to do it. Also, always in the past, as Ayelet said, there was always something there. It wasn't a fear of commitment, which it is a lot of times, I think, for people. And it's important to distinguish between, is it a fear of commitment, or is there actually something there that you cannot get past and that you are deeply troubled and feared and scared of. And I had that before, and it's why I never did propose in the past. There was always that feeling that I just couldn't get to doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Someone say, Laura, hi, Laura. She's saying, but not everyone knows how to get in touch with their intuition, so it might take more time to process. So this is where I would advise that person. I'd say, can you see yourself with this person? Get rid of all of the big question marks for a second. Is there a part of you that could really see yourself with this person? Because we've already said that rule number one of marriage is work. It's hard work. So the work is going to be there whether you marry this person or whether you marry the next person. The work is it's cut out for you, right? So it's like, could I see myself with this person? And from that place, accepting that it's going to take hard work makes the process more practical and less intuitive, right?
I think that's important, but see yourself with the person. But if there is something that is
if you can't knock the voice in your head, if it's a constant nagging voice in your head and you've done real processing, spoken to people, gone to mentors, therapists, and you can't really understand where that, because sometimes the voice in our head is just childhood wounds, childhood trauma. So that voice is going to come with you to any relationship. So it's important to understand what that voice in your head is. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a part of me that's been hurt before and I'm scared of being hurt again? Is it a part of me that fears commitment? Is it a part of me that feels like I'm not able to be heard or seen by my partner? And I didn't get that from my dad, so I really needed in a partner, right? That's where the processing and talking this stuff out loud is not a matter of intuition. It's just very real, honest conversations.
And it doesn't mean that voice in your head is a deal breaker per se, but it does mean that it needs to be attended to. Mm-hmm. I think that's an important thing that needs to be shared. And what I had found, I remember I was dating someone. I came to my rabbi and I said, Rabbi, I have these 3 issues. And I told him all 3. And he said, first one, no issue. Second one, maybe an issue. Third one, definitely an issue. And I remember I had it like the other way around. I thought the first one was the big issue. And he was like, no issue. And so I don't know if we were going to mention this later, just when we glance at the questions quickly.
Yeah, there's more, yeah. Yes.
But I think if you haven't been married before, then we have an hour, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
If we haven't been married before, you really don't know what marriage requires. Just like if you haven't been an entrepreneur before, you don't know fully what entrepreneurship requires. And it would be helpful if an entrepreneur shared with you, these are the things you're going to run into. And so for me, I found that when my rabbi said, this is no issue, I placed so much stock and was even willing to break off a very serious dating partner that I had because I thought something was paramount. I thought that was a deal breaker. I thought that was so important in marriage. I wouldn't be able to make the marriage work. My rabbi just said that is not important at all. And this wasn't just anyone saying, this is my rabbi who I trust, I know well, and is very wise. And when he said it and explained it, I said, oh, that does make sense. And he explained how you can see that in other marriages and it's not an issue and there are wonderful marriages. So
so you're saying sometimes your non-negotiable might not be a non-negotiable?
I'd have to actually think about that. But what I for sure am saying is there are certain things that men and women think in marriage are bigger things or possibly even deal breaker things than they actually are. And I don't know if we want to just mention this later when we glance at the questions, but for sure, you should have couples or at least individuals who are married and have healthy marriages where you can ask them, how important is this? And a lot of times I talk to guys all the time. It's like, dude, that's not important at all. Or I guarantee this will come up in every single marriage. Every guy I talk to has this. So don't think, the girl you're dating is the only one with this. Every woman manifests this to some degree. And so I think that is of the highest importance in the dating process is having having people that
build relationships, people who are walking the walk. Absolutely. Absolutely. And don't be afraid to ask them real questions. And if they won't answer you, you can ask us. Question came in. What percentage of your must have from your list is a negotiable or non-negotiable
in your partner?
Is a negotiable. Okay. So what I always tell people to do is write down 10 of your non-negotiables. 10. You can have 10 non-negotiables. These are the things that I absolutely must have or must not have in my partner. And take your time to really think about it and then narrow it down to your top 3. Circle your top 3. And now everything else becomes not as, if we come with a list of 10 things, we'll be single the rest of our lives, right? Because nobody's going to fit the exact mold. Stop looking for that version of perfection in a partner. And if you're looking for that version of perfection, become that version yourself first. And then you will arrive to a certain, talking manifestation for a second, you'll arrive to a certain vibrational frequency that you will now welcome that type of person into your life. But if you got a bucket list, but you yourself are not filling that bucket list, right, then it's unreasonable to expect that in a partner.
And not to mention, marriage is about giving and supporting the other person. So it's a lot less even about what your needs are. But what we also do find a lot is most people confuse needs and wants. And most people are operating from a place of, selfishness, or at least the I, in that, what do I need in order to be my best self? And that is a bit tricky because what you think you need is usually not what you need. And I always say, God shows you what you want, but gives you what you need. And this is why dating for marriage and religious dating is so important, because if you date someone for so long, you're going to end up seeing so many sides of them and whatnot that you're going to find something you don't like. And so by dating quickly and by knowing what your essentially needs are, you're able to find someone and attract someone and decide if this person is right for me based on what your needs are. And just an example, I always felt that I needed a girl who would acquiesce so much and was softer and would support me and all this and my mission is that. And I ended up getting a woman who is very strong, challenges me greatly, and is very different than a past relationship I had where I actually thought that girl was the one for that reason. And so, but what I actually really needed was, and I know it's part of my fixing in this world, is to be able to, I don't want to go into all of that here, but it is not, I would not have to do the kind of work with that woman from my past who was, let's just say, more acquiescing than to be with my wife who is a bit stronger, who actually, sorry, loud noise, who I need to actually, I need to nullify my ego and acquiesce to. And so it's important to know the difference between needs and wants. And the beautiful thing is Hashem usually shows you what you want, but will give you what you need in your marriage. And that's why marriages end up being very challenged, because what you need is
but it can
always
also be very, it can be very much a relief when you recognize that that's how the system was set up by the divine, right? The system was set up for your other half to be the person to show you the parts that are still wounded in you, in a sense, right? The parts that we need to work on, the parts that can help us grow and actualize our potential. If we married someone who, the person that we thought we needed, there might not be so much room for growth and actualization. So from that perspective, we come to realize, like, people are like, but doesn't that mean you're settling if the other person doesn't fit your vision? Are you settling? And it's like, no, you realize you're never settling when the foundation of marriage is work, is growth, is we're meant to challenge each other. We're meant to trigger each other, and we're meant to learn how to rise above those triggers and meet one another from a place of love and compassion and patience and understanding. But that stuff takes work. It's not easy. We're two worlds coming together from two different cultures, two different universes, two different upbringings, two different sexes. And we're meant to now live under the same roof for the rest of our life. Like, think about that premise for a second. That's hard work. That's hard work. Think of all the roommates you guys have had. All right. I'm assuming that you guys get into it with roommates. How much more so your forever roommate? Right. So learning how to communicate becomes paramount.
And by nature, we take the easy way out as individuals. So we look for someone who will typically give us an easy life. And you should know that nothing meaningful, there's nothing you can achieve meaning, or nothing you can achieve meaningful without real effort and hard work. And that's what great marriages require.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, babe. Someone's asking, in terms of compatibility, how do you say your handle? Mila Box? Interesting. Mila. Okay. In terms of compatibility, would the marriage work if one is secular and the other is Orthodox? So how I would answer this question is, have I seen it work? Yes. Is there a lot of love in those marriages? Absolutely. However, before they actually said their vows, so to speak, right? They would share with the other in terms of what's important to the one who's Orthodox and what's important to the one who's secular, if they have non-negotiables. Like, if the Orthodox person is like, I absolutely 100% need to keep Shabbos, that's a non-negotiable. And the secular party is like, well, I absolutely need to get in my car and go to the beach or go partying on Friday night. Right? And that's a non-negotiable, right? If those are some of your non-negotiables, then it's not going to work. However, if one party is willing to adjust to the other person because, let's say, it's more important to the other person, we do that often. We said that when we first got married, not in the realm of religious or secular, but, we said when we don't agree on something, we would ask, who is it more important for, right? Who is it more important to? So if you can come to a place where you respect the other's non-negotiables and can comply with them without amputating a part of yourself, without compromising your authenticity, but even grow to love doing things for the other person, then I think that absolutely an Orthodox and a secular person could.
You don't need to agree with everything that your partner does or believes, but you do need to respect them. And I think that's a very important difference. And this isn't even this question didn't really need to be even Orthodox and secular. It could be anything, because if there is something that is I don't want to call secular and Orthodox opposite, but there is obviously a sort of opposite-like nature to different ends of, let's just call it the spectrum, that should recognize if there are going to be, you should talk about obviously things that can be deal breakers. And most of the time, I'd be comfortable to say there are deal breakers, whether it be Orthodox, non-Orthodox, whether it would be someone who wants to dedicate their life to traveling the world and, saving the whales. And the other person is, I want to be a stay-at-home, and there's no way to merge those two worlds together. Then, that is very opposite things. And remember, people say opposites attract. I think Rav Noah Weinberg, my Rebbe, always says, he said, opposites don't attract. Mother Teresa would never date Hitler. Opposites, they wouldn't work together. But there are complements attract. And I think that's important to know is there opposites or are these complementative things? And complementative things are usually things that require a lot of work.
Right. Yeah. There's a spectrum of a 1 can't be with a 10, but if you're somewhere in the middle, then I think you can definitely make it work. Okay. So someone asks.
Oh, great question.
It's very new. I think I found my person. We're both secular. Would you recommend we speak to someone before advancing the relationship? Neither of us has a rabbi or rebbitzin.
Hell yeah. This is not we found we found the setup that God, the rabbis, the religious community establishes for dating is really the most profound psychology and the most healthy, and especially with how the world and people operate today, it is more needed than ever in terms of approaching the dating process for marriage. And yes, a guy just messaged me last night from Los Angeles, not religious. He's serious of dating. And the first thing I said is, dude, get a mentor, get an intermediary,
this applies to anyone. Just because we are
more important.
Just because we are Torah loving Jews doesn't mean that what we're sharing only applies to us. Like whatever you can implement, regardless of whether you're, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, secular, that doesn't matter. These are principles. These are foundational principles, even in the secular world, right? I grew up secular. I dated guys. Looking back, like, would I have done things differently when I was in a very new, when I just meeting a guy for the first time, right? Would I have been touchy-feely with him right off the bat looking back? No, if I could have given my teenage self advice, I would have taken these same principles and applied it to me back then.
I had something I wanted to share on this was so good. I can't remember.
Sorry, I do that. Now I keep talking and then.
No, it's okay.
Okay, if it comes to you. Leah asks, any advice for keeping the spark alive when you were married a long time? You remember?
Yeah, sorry. Back to because I think this is so important. I've been investing in real estate, and I was just thinking, I have a real estate agent. He's the middle person between me and the seller or the property that I'm looking at. And I'm not a real estate agent. I don't know all what it takes and what you should be looking for and all those questions that should be asked. But I trust him and he's an expert. And so he's able to relay information to me about what the property's like, what issues there may be, what the seller needs, et cetera. And I can make a decision from there, just like a helpful third party can relay, hey, this person actually mentioned, this is something important to them. Would you be able to show up and do this? Yeah, I could take them. I can take them to the beach for a day. I wish she told me that. I love the beach. I'm glad I know that. I'm actually a huge beach fan. She thought I wasn't so, into, going on fun trips to the beach. And that's really important to her.
Yeah. Which kind of feeds into the next question here, which is any advice for keeping the spark alive when you were married a long time, almost 15 years, had some big life changes like Aliyah, and now find yourself both working from home together 24/7. So I will say, we also work from home. We're also together 24/7. For me, what helps me is that I have passion projects. I don't rely on him to be, this isn't exactly answering your question, but I think it's an important part to note. I don't rely solely on him to take the place of my mother, my best friend, my yoga partner, my nail partner, my confidant, the person who gives me the most empathy. Like, I don't rely on him to be 10 different women in one. First off, he's not a woman, he's a man, right? And so I don't put all that pressure on him to show up in that way. And so for me, the passion, I believe, stays alive with us when I do things for myself that are in the realm of self-care, that make me feel good, that help me step into my purpose, that are creative. That way I'm not just relying on him to feed those empty places in me. So that's the first point. The second point is I like being kept on my feet. Well, how do you say it? I'm going to keep kept on my toes. Right. I like him. I like being kept on my toes. And something that he's been really good at over the course of our marriage is he'll write little notes. You know, for my birthday, I woke up in the morning and he had notes all over the floor leading. It was like a treasure hunt, a scavenger hunt for the day. The whole day was a scavenger hunt. And one note he would give me, would say, okay, now it's time to open the next note. And it would lead to the next part of the scavenger hunt. Right. So I think it's important to just, ABC, always be courting. And that means always be courting each other, right? He can court in the masculine way. I can court in the feminine way. I am only going to be as feminine as he is masculine. And he's going to only be as masculine as I am feminine.
Yeah, that leads me to, are you done?
Yeah.
That's a great thing. There's masculine energy and there's feminine energy. Mm-hmm. And feminine energy is wild and chaotic. It is the ocean. And male energy wants to seek freedom and wants things to just be calm. However, male energy needs to meet female energy and let female energy do its dance and be able to express itself in any way. And when a woman feels that safety and ability to express herself anyway, and even when she tears her man apart, she's really testing his strength, and his resolve and his direction and his energy. That's attractive to her. And the same thing for a man is for a woman to be to share that wave-like energy in a unique way. And so I remember when I went to a guy when I was, I think, maybe engaged, and it was called Date Your Wife for Life. And I talk with a lot of men who are ball shooters as well. And I go, come on, guys. I know you guys used to pick girls up at the club. When's the last time you picked your wife up?
I told him earlier today, I said, talk to me as though you're picking me up at the club. Because there's energy to that is that energy you have in dating. It's a little bit of lust, but it creates.
There's a profoundness to it. It's not just pick up at the club, but it's the idea of the energy of the man not seeking comfort and escape, and my woman's going crazy right now, won't stop, and I just want to get out of here. It's embracing that wild energy. And it's also about the woman, and I think I could say this for women as well. Just like the man picks up a girl at the club, come on, how was the girl at the club? She was coy. She'd lean up against the guy a little bit to entice him a little bit. She'd give the eyes. Do women stop doing that in marriage? And so I think it's a two-way dance of the man providing that strength and that the buoy that doesn't get rattled by the waves and just rides the waves, and a woman who is not, and because of that, she's not afraid to express her waves and be the ocean and be that, but she also shows up with that as well and tries to play with her man and toy with him and coy with him and pick him up as well.
Yeah, because when I hear the word how to keep the spark alive, it's really, people will say have date night, but if you're on date night and you don't feel like your partner is energetically there or present or listening,
it's just a tactic.
Then it's just a tactic. Exactly. It's not actually going to move the needle towards having more passion.
It actually will hurt more because you'll be doing all these practical things
and expecting connection, but it's not there.
And there has to be a certain level of energy, attitude, embodiment of the masculine and the feminine, and the dance that those two can have together. And then I think a lot of times the practical will come from that, or if not, then you seek out advice from other people, or you experiment and you try other things.
Yeah, and also just spontaneity. You probably have heard this before, but it's true. Surprise your man in whatever way. and if he can surprise the woman in whatever way, like the other day you came to me and you were like, I have a surprise date day for Friday morning. And I was just like, oh, really? Like, for me, that makes my week. It makes my week. I don't know where we're going. I know it's going to be fun. But then even more important than the date itself and the spontaneity aspect is I know we're going to show up and we're going to have a heartfelt conversation. He'll probably ask me questions and open me up and allow me to just express myself, and God willing. And so that's part of it. That's part of how to keep the spark alive, or at least that's how it works for us. Okay. We're past an hour. Okay. Yeah. These go quickly. Should we answer maybe one more question?
Sure. Or if you had on here, I don't know if that...
Well, I think we answered a lot of these. What if you don't know what you need? If we don't always end up with what we thought we need, what guides do we have while dating? Loud person / quiet person, chill or loud? What guides do we have?
Don't know what you...
Do you want it? Should I? Okay. If you don't know what you need, well, then start with what you want. Start with what you want. If you don't know what you need, put pen to paper. I just learned this technique this week and it was profound. I took a class on mysticism and the instructor at the end of it, she said, here's a writing exercise. Get out of your own way, put pen to paper and just allow a voice to come in through your left ear and speak to you and just write down what it says, right? So it's you're externalizing that thought process or allowing an angel or spirit to speak through you in a way. And so ask the question, what is it that I want? Right? If you don't know what you need, sometimes not.
It's a big question.
Also, knowing what you don't want will get you closer to what you need,
and really what you're able to give, because marriage is about giving.
Yeah,
marriage is about giving. What are you able to give? And
sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you're not going to know until you're married, and you just trust that all the other things are in place. And again, like I did, I jumped and I trusted that God was going to grow me wings and I flew, because part of stepping into marriage is the unknown. You're no longer only in control of your own well-being. Back in the day, before I got married, if I was going through something, all I had to do was book a flight and go to India, go here, go to South America, whatever, right? I would fill that void in a way. Whereas marriage, I can't run. There's nowhere to run. You're totally letting go of the steering wheel in marriage, because you can control yourself, your actions, your response to things, how you handle big feelings and what you need. But when it comes to another person, same with kids. You can't, it's a control question. Really I think it's a matter of just letting go of control, knowing what you want, getting clear about what you want, and then letting go of what you need and trust that the person that you marry is going to give you what you need.
So yeah, it's a big question to unpack.
It's a big question to unpack.
I don't know if we should have gone there, but yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. All right. Could you save the live? Oh, yay. I'm so happy you guys liked it. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, great. Yes, we will save the live. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And also, if you want more clarity on how to manifest your life partner, if you're in that place, then innocent plug, go on over to the link in my bio and check out the manifestation mindset. It works. People have actually gotten married by the date they have set their intention to get married by taking the course. It works wonders. And awesome. Thanks so much. Happy manifesting. And I bless you all with loving, happy, healthy, holy, connected, passionate partnership.
And feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah.
For these kind of things. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Nice. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode and would like more manifestation inspiration, tune in every Monday for a new episode. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on an episode. What you get out of this show means the world to me. so I invite you to leave an honest review. If you want more, you can follow me on social media at Ayelet Polonsky. I also have a number of virtual courses to offer if you're ready to take this material to the next level and start embodying a manifestation mindset. I teach you how to heal past trauma, experience the most joy out of life, and rewrite your future so you can feel good more often. Simply head on over to ayeletpolonsky.com for a variety of resources you can start taking advantage of immediately. See you next week. And as always, think big and happy manifesting.